Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on in. It is Carty o'clock, and we are back here with Prop Culture for your real penultimate episode of the season. Derek, I'm Thomas Viola. He's Derek Carty, and we are ready to talk about some Super Bowl props. No NFL this weekend doesn't mean that we can't already be betting because the prop markets are out and going for the Super Bowl. And Derek, it's a different game nowadays. I was down at Westgate Wednesday night for prop reveal night, but at this point, DraftKings and FanDuel have their numbers out Sunday night, right when the matchups are set. It's a whole different world now. We've had a whole week to kind of marinate on some of these props so far.
Yeah, we have. I'm kind of hoping they maybe release a few more, on maybe some guys down the roster later in the week. Maybe some more value pops up. I'm not seeing like a whole lot that I love at the moment, but there's a few. So we have, I think, 3 to get to today. And yeah, hopefully it's a good week.
Yeah. How much have you bet so far? We have 3 props to talk about today. How much of your action have you already put down, and how much are you kind of waiting on? Because, we'll talk more about the other things like timing and strategy and things like that we'll get to in this show. But where are you at so far?
Yeah, I mean, with me, I don't treat the Super Bowl like that much differently than I'll treat any other game during the year. Like, I know some people are like, oh, it's the Super Bowl, I need to get like all this action down, I need like 50 props to bet. It's like, if I only wind up with 2 or 3 or 4, and that's the way it is.
Now, in terms of the props that we talk about, and certainly the stuff that the Blitz is there to support, like you said, yeah, like you might end up, it's an NFL game. You're going to end up with a few props, but if you have 20, you're baking so much correlation in at some point that you don't really want. But what about some of those more exotic props, the stuff that we don't really get to see that often? Like, are you going to be and I'm not even talking about the will there be an octopus level of exotics. I'm talking about the fact like we can bet Sam Darnold first rush over under 3.5 yards. Like, that's not something that every book is putting up every single week. Do you attack any of those that's kind of, you have to tweak the Blitz a little bit to make some of this stuff work?
Personally, I don't, because I don't have that level of granularity projected a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold's first play rush attempt, kind of like, I don't have that specifically. I'm sure I could go in, I could kind of figure something out, but if it's not a prop that they're going to offer on a weekly basis, is it really worth my time to go in and try to create a projection for something that I'll get to bet once a year, maybe if it's even going to show value? So for me, it's kind of just business as usual.
I get that. I think there's a line between, do I want to go through all the work of setting all of this stuff up to optimize this, and do I want, like, are there things that I can look at maybe without having to do all of that work and be able to say, okay, because of the fact that the books only put up this prop once a year, it's probably not priced correctly. I mean, we used to see it before the days of the DraftKings and FanDuel million props every week menu. Like, you could get some real action down on things like the safety prop and stuff. Like, that's one that always comes to mind for me, because that's one that was always priced wrong, and they would forget about it every year and just throw them all back up at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right that the less time that the books have to spend on, making sure props are accurate, the weaker the lines are going to be, the more attackable they're going to be. So if they're only putting up once a year, like, you're right, yeah, they're probably not spending as much time on it as they would be. And there's going to be definitely some inefficiencies in markets like that. Personally, I don't have the time to go in and find those inefficiencies, but they're definitely there.
Yeah. Porto saying, you mean you don't want to build a model for will the kick hit the crossbar? I mean, one of my favorite stories is easily from that Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, where one of the sharpest bets every single person was making was the, will there be a doink? Like, will a field goal kick hit the uprights? Yes, no. And the no was like minus 450 at one point, and it got bet all the way to like minus 900, because every single sharp was like, well, this doesn't happen. Like, the amount of times that this happens, that this is priced incorrectly. This is a very good bet. And so, of course, Harrison Butker, very first kick of the game, what does he go out? He doinks it straight into the crossbar. Like, you don't even have to build a model for that.
Positive EV bet and still lose. That's the way it works sometimes. But yeah, no, if you're getting good odds on it, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, and it really is one of those classic like sharps versus squares where the sharps are all like, look, this is a really great bet. Yes, you're breaking every single square principle of don't lay a ton of juice, bet on things to happen, just all of them. And you're like, hey, look, mathematically, this is a great bet. Like, yeah, you're laying a ton of juice, but it's one of those things that's good math. And trust me, you're going to hit. And boom, straight away. The squares are just like, oh, yep, we got this one. Russian saying, I'm just here for the Carty Bad Bunny prop bets.
Yeah. Would it be bad if I admitted to not knowing who Bad Bunny was before he was announced as the Super Bowl guy? Because I didn't know who Bad Bunny was.
I mean, you could play me 5 Bad Bunny songs, and I'm not going to be able to tell you that any of them are Bad Bunny. Like, the NFL is very clearly trying to go for the international demographic, and like, yeah, he's a superstar everywhere else, and he's popular here, but it's pretty obvious what they're going for with all of this. Fun little story. Before we get into it, a couple years ago when the Super Bowl was in Vegas, I worked the game. Like, I was in the stadium all week, and so I heard the halftime show rehearsals and all of that stuff, and I couldn't say anything, but I knew all of those bets and all of like first song, all the guest appearances, and I was just like, oh man, I respect the NDA I signed, so I'm not going to do it, but I wanted to so badly bet on that stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would have been something.
Yeah. All right. Shall we jump into it here? First off, also, welcome in, everybody. Great to see you all here. How do Andre saying, what up, gents? Those Carty baseball props are going to be hitting like crazy.
I think I can't tell if that's Bad Bunny or baseball or walk props, because when I see BB, it's like, oh, walk props. Baseball's right around the corner. We're about to start hitting some walk props because that's what I'm hoping it is. But I think it's Bad Bunny.
It probably is. Boglor saying it's a thin board for sure, which, I mean, for him to be saying that, that's got to be bad. He's probably only got like 45 bets on the game right now. And then he says, lead pipe lock of the week, Mac Hollins over 26.5 receiving yards, over 2.5 receptions, no science, ball knowledge only.
I mean, Mac Hollins has gotten a ton of work this year when he's been healthy and on the field. He didn't get his like full complement last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever we want to say the game was, when he came back off the IR. Presumably by the Super Bowl, he'll be good to go, like in full. I don't hate that.
Neither do I. I think it's a good one. I'm sure that we can run it through the system in a bit and see what it says. But if it's Boglor, probably was based off of the blitz anyway. Rabbi and Lou saying the crazy thing is the Kalshi props, someone announcers will say. Shameless plug for my own podcast, the Talk to Tom podcast here. But last episode I had Alex Kane on and we talked about that stuff because like these are the markets that you can't be betting into. It's so easy to manipulate. Like the fact that they're even offered is so insane. Like you can bet things on Kalshi, but there are some things that just think about it before you bet and think about, do I have an actual edge in this market, or is there someone who will be able to affect or know the outcome of this market that can screw me over here? Yeah, exactly. Just things to think about. All right. Let us get into it now, Derek. We have 3 props to talk about. And actually, I'm going to keep people waiting once again, because as Boglor pointed out with the Mac Hollins, just no ball knowledge, no science, all ball knowledge. We had one prop on here that we decided not to play and decided not to put on. And that was the Travion Henderson under 4.5 carries. We looked at it. You decided to take it off the board. How concerned are we with the Super Bowl and the usage of some guys? Do we typically get higher usage for the superstars and lower usage for other guys? Is it kind of like the NBA where the stars are going to get more minutes? Or do you see a trend in Super Bowls of like teams are reaching into their bag and they're pulling out plays that we haven't seen all season and they're going to guys that we haven't seen all season, which is kind of more common?
think the former. I think we see more superstars, get a little bit more of the action than they otherwise would, which we see kind of throughout the playoffs. We've seen it with Stephon Diggs. He's played a little bit more than he has in the regular season and stuff like that. Yeah, the Henderson one, I like. I'm very tempted by, but all it takes is one Ramondre Stevenson injury and it's dead, like just completely dead. It's not on my card at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're betting an under, which is usually an injury isn't bad for you, but
right, but it's kind of not in this case. It's it's almost like we're not betting it. It's almost like we're betting an over.
Yeah, we're betting the over on the starter, not the under on the backup.
Yes, exactly.
And bro, KGB, this was my exact thought when this play happened. I watched that first Shaheed catch and was like, oh my God, are we going to cash this on play one? No way. And AWB said he hit on Shaheed under 2.5 receptions, over 50 yards. Very nice. Very nicely done. We didn't get the touchdown, but we got everything else. And the other funny thing is you almost did get there on the like, even if you added the touchdown and didn't get it on that play, you would have still had a shot. But alas, we did not. Bogler saying also consider the books have priced these Henderson props because of his lack of involvement in the playoffs, but this is not an outdoor game in the snow where he does not play in. This is a game on turf.
That's actually interesting. I hadn't heard that. Is that a thing where they don't use him as much in the outdoor games? I'm trying to think what the reason for that would be. Yeah. Bogler, expound on that if you want.
I think Vrabel trusts Ramondre more in a run up the middle between the tackles situation. So I guess what he's saying is that because the playoff games were being played in weather, they were going with more of the hard nose between the tackles running, and that's why Henderson wasn't getting as much looks.
That's an interesting angle.
Yeah,
I mean, I could certainly see that being true.
Mm-hmm. I see what Bogler's saying. Those were junk weather games there. Because Levi's, I'm 99% sure Levi's is grass.
I am not sure.
I mean, I would be stunned because it's an outdoor stadium with no roof.
Yeah, true.
In a very friendly climate.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I've been there a bunch of times. Yeah, it's definitely grass. I've seen a Gold Cup final on there and they didn't put grass over anything. So yeah, it's grass. But I get that doesn't refute Bogler's point. Bogler's point is more so about the weather. Yeah, not the turf, not the playing surface. Okay. Right. Now let's get into the props here, ladies and gentlemen. We have 3 to get to here, and we are going to start. What a shock here. We're going to the Kenneth Walker under 2.5 receptions market because we do not like running back passes on this show.
Yeah, we tend to hit a lot of these, but it's where books tend to give us value. So we're going to look at under 2.5 at plus 122 at Bet365. We'll call our best line, but you can see it's 5 stars all the way down to even money, no matter where you want to play it. It's been moving down. I feel like it's inflated a little bit because Zach Charbonnet is out. But if you look at what Kenneth Walker did last week with Zach Charbonnet out, he did not run any more routes than he normally does. Like he wasn't really used any differently. So 2.5 for a guy who isn't targeted that much, and probably isn't going to be targeted any more than usual in this game. I think this one looks really good to me.
By the way, we did in fact cash that Kenneth Walker under 19.5 carries last week. Finished with 19.
Wow.
And remember, we were sweating that because the last that they had that third down to seal the game. And I was sitting there like, oh man, they need to try and pass this football to get the first down. Like, just don't run it with Walker up the middle. And we get there, and we got there, but that was a sweat right at the end there.
Yeah, it was.
Ooh, but hey, we made it, and we cleared the Sam Darnold pass completions over. That was rocking chair.
Yeah, that one was no problem at all.
Yeah, definitely was a good weekend for me with the NFL props there, especially in that Seattle game. All right, next up, we're going to George Holani. I can't tell you which. I assume he's on the Seahawks.
He's on the Seahawks. He's the backup running back now that Charbonnet is hurt.
That explains it.
And we are looking at his under also under 1.5 plus 118 at ProfitX. But again, 5 stars down to well past even money. No matter where you're betting it, it looks good. The Blitz is projecting 1.25 here. You'd think that if the Walker one wasn't showing value, this one maybe would be on the over, but it's not. Even though George Holani basically stepped in and took all of Zach Charbonnet's pass game work, this still shows value on the under because, I mean, I can count probably like 5 or 6 times this year. I bet Zach Charbonnet under receptions because they'd give us, and a lot of times it was like under half a reception at like, plus whatever. So even though he's getting that Zach Charbonnet work, that's still not that much when it comes to how many targets we're expecting him to get. Like last week he got, I think like 3 catches or something like that. That's not something Charbonnet like would ever really do. I'm kind of going to chalk that up as just like it happened in one game thing, and going to go with the under here based on the usage and kind of, if you look at Charbonnet's lines, I can guarantee you, I haven't pulled up the game logs, but if you go and look, like he's probably gone over this, like he'd be very profitable betting into these numbers based on what he'd done this year in his game logs. I'm almost certain of it.
Not to mention the fact that the game against the Rams was very pass heavy.
Yeah, it was. They threw the ball a lot.
Yeah. And Bro KGB says, do we like Darnold over 19.5 completions if it's still there? I'm curious if you want to go to that market real quick. We only have one more prop to get to. Like we could start and we could field questions in the meantime. But I really liked the passing markets over last week because I felt like that game was going to be specifically in the Seattle Rams game, obviously not Denver, but I felt like that was going to be more of a shootout, which it was. This doesn't feel like a shootout to me.
No, I don't think so.
In fact, I'm inclined to think that this is going to be a very good Super Bowl for sharps and the books, because I think this is another one of those defensive rock fight kind of games.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case here. As far as this Darnold bet goes, the Blitz is projecting a little over 20.5. So if you can get the 19.5 at reasonable odds, something close to even money, I think it's fine. It looks like most books, though, you're going to have to pay minus 125, minus 130, minus 140, which does not look too good to me. I would probably just pass on it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not quite going there. AWB says, I see a 6-1 for anytime pick 6 in the game. Any value? I can't imagine that as value. What's the math on that?
6-1? There's no way. You gotta get something way better than that, I would think, for it to have value.
What's the math on that? You're saying what? One out of every
7 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pick 6. I don't think that could possibly be true.
Yeah. I mean, how many pick 6s have we had all season?
Yeah, definitely not that many.
Yeah. Which is another thing to pay attention to, guys. Like the reason I say how many did we have all season and not how many pick 6s have we had in Super Bowls prior, like your sample size is much better coming from this season than looking at some of these trends of like, oh, this has happened in 5 out of the last 7 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like,
you want to ignore any of that stuff. This happened in X out of the last Y Super Bowls. Like, just throw that out the window. That's not going to mean a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pay much more attention to what teams have done this season, even if it's not teams in this particular game. Also, the kickoff rules. Like, the yardage teams gain is different and significantly down this year because of the change to kickoffs. Like, factor that in versus comparing to previous Super Bowls where there was literally a different rule set.
Yep, totally agree.
All right, one more bet that we have. Bogler saying that should be like 12-1. AWB saying not high enough models. Yeah, facts. Last one we have, and sure enough, we are playing yet another running back receptions under here, ladies and gentlemen. We are playing the hits on the show today. We got Ramondre's under as well.
If only we had a Geno Smith prop to put out there, we would be giving the people everything that they have come to expect from us this year. But sadly, we don't. But we still have Ramondre under. This is one that we bet last week. Was an easy win. He didn't get a single catch. I think he only had 2 targets. Under 2.5 receptions, plus 144 at no vig if you can get it is awesome. But still going to be fine. The 130s, the 125s that are out there, definitely going to be fine to bet anywhere. Ramondre, I mean, obviously got like all of the groundwork last week and has gotten like a ton of it throughout the postseason. And we know that they like Ramondre a lot. But if you look at his involvement in the pass game, up until last week, he'd been seeing like a spike in his target share, but it wasn't coming on more routes or really on a different role or anything. Like I said, the same thing last week when we gave this out, I think. Like nothing had really changed other than he was just getting targeted a little bit more. Last week we saw it regress. This week they're still pricing him as if that's a thing. So for me, I'm just going to go right back to this one.
And like Boglor pointed out, it's entirely possible that we see more Travion Henderson in this game, which should further cut into your Ramondre passing game work.
Yeah, if that were to happen, I would be very happy with that.
Yeah. AWB says also I was half right on Stiddy going a lot of coon mode. Oh, do you want to hear?
I mean, he was bad in the second half, but he finished with 19 completions, I think. So if you got in at the earlier numbers, I think you won him, didn't you?
Yeah. And also like the weather in that game was just insane in the second half, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my brutal beat?
Let's hear it.
So my buddy texts me before the game and just goes, hey, MGM has these priced wrong, these exact scores for the Broncos priced wrong. Broncos team total 0 and Broncos team total 3, 500 and 200 to 1 respectively. Those are probably good bets. And so we took both of those. We didn't take 7, which was also probably still really, really good. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, we were dead on. 1 score. That's all they got, but it was just the wrong score.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. It was quite painful, but hey, would have been fun, but it is what it is. All right. We're going to recap real quick, and then we're going to throw it to some of your questions if you have them. We'll also look at some other props, talk about some other stuff here as well. But first, the recap. Ignore that Travion Henderson play. We have Kenneth Walker under 2.5 receptions, plus 134, your best odds at Profit X. George Halani under 1.5 receptions, plus 118, best odds at Profit X. And Ramondre Stevenson under 2.5 receptions, plus 144, best odds at No Vig. All right, ladies and gentlemen, throw your questions, comments in as well. Rabbi and Lou says 26 pick sixes in 272 regular season games. Math.
Yeah, so we were right then. So that's like roughly 10%, almost 10% of games, and so you would need way better than 6-1 to justify that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely get better than 6-1 there. Yank says, good luck to y'all. See y'all next week.
You might have value. Bet negative, whatever it would be.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, what do you have projected for the total on the game? Like, how do you see this? Like, do you see this game being kind of slower paced, low scoring, or more of a high pace? What are you expecting us to see here?
Let me pull up the game projection here. So, we'll pull up the total. So the Blitz, the Blitz is projecting exactly 45.5, which is where the books have it set at. So, yeah, the Blitz is right on there. There is nothing to see here. As far as pace goes, I can try to pull that up real quick and see. I know I think it's like a little bit on the slower side, but nothing crazy. Yeah, it's a slowish game, but not like crazy slow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm just trying to double check that I have. Okay, so I don't have it there. I don't know. I had a bet on an alt total, and I have to remember if I actually placed it or not before I say anything about it. But I got to go find where I placed it. Anyway, Brock KGB says Barner over 0.5 rushing yards for plus money.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
For plus money. I mean, that's in their bag of tricks. They like using him as like their tush push type stuff. I don't mind that one bit.
Mm-hmm. And Rabbi and Lou saying, what are your break evens on some of these? Because Kenneth Walker receptions is now down to plus 111. I
can let you know about that. 1 second. I have to pull up my other screen. See the break evens. So the theoretical break even on Kenneth Walker is minus 186. So at plus 111, you are definitely still fine. Yeah. It's still showing ridiculous value down to the blitz is projecting like 2, so it's like a half a reception under, so you can take it down to minus 110, minus 120, and you're still going to be getting really good value.
Yeah, that's that one you've got plenty of time to get that one in there. Hell Plumber says anytime touchdown bets showing value.
There was one. It's a little bit uncertain in terms of what they're going to do with him, but Elijah Arroyo, I know, was showing some value. I have the right screen up, right? Yes. Arroyo, rookie tight end. People thought he'd become like the number 1 tight end earlier in the year. It didn't happen because they really like AJ Barner, and AJ Barner was really good this year. Then Arroyo got hurt. They activated him off the IR last week, but then he didn't play. He was inactive. I couldn't find anything on why he was inactive. Like, was he not ready yet, or did they just prefer going without him? I don't know, but at 14-1, I still think for a guy who before his injury had he had a legitimate little role in this offense. If he goes back to that role, 14-1 is good odds on him.
Yeah. And
if he's inactive, well, it's a scratch. My concern is that he's not inactive and he barely plays because something has changed in what I want to do with Elijah Arroyo. I don't know, but I think this is a pretty solid bet.
At 14-1 too. I mean, you can only be so wrong at throwing $20 on that, right?
Yeah.
Mark Paris says, any fun super long shots like those 50-1s, 20-1s that will haunt Tom? Yes. I just confirmed that I already bet it, so I can talk about it. MG, I don't know if it's still there, but I'm pretty sure MGM had over 70 points in the game as the total at 30-1. And the math I did using a calculator that some people might be familiar with in this audience said that should be closer to 20-1.
All right. I like it.
Yeah. So that's my long shot there. Again, I think that this game is going under everything, but if it goes over well enough and we get like a 35-35 game, I'm feeling pretty good about myself, even as all my other bets lose.
All right.
So that'll be helpful.
That's the thing. I mean, even if it's not likely to win, if you're getting good expected value on it, that's the best you can do with these bets. That's what you want to get your money in good.
And if you're gonna go into a game like this where you're saying I'm gonna have more stuff than usual on it, it helps to have a diverse portfolio. It helps to have some of those things that, okay, if the game doesn't play out exactly as my model sees it or exactly as I see it, at least I have some stuff in there that's gonna help me win back some of that money, because odds are, like everyone else, I'm going to end up with a lot of unders on this game. And if it's a massively over game like that, it's nice to have a little something in the back pocket. Of course, there's a massive, massive gap in between those where you could just lose everything, but still, it's something on the other end of the outcome. Let's talk about Cooper Kupp. Receptions are at 3.5 plus 140. What are we liking at here? And it's already down to 22-1 for 71 plus. So watch out for that.
Yeah. Last week, the Blitz really liked the Kupp overs, especially like the alt over, the 3.5 alt over, I think it was. Here, it's projecting about 3.5. So not really a lot of value, unfortunately. Part of that's just going to be, this is a different game environment than we saw last week. We've been talking about it all show. It's going to be slower, potentially more run heavy. So not as much value here for Kupp as there was last week.
Yeah. And by the way, heads up, guys, 22-1 is like getting closer to break even fair price. Like you're not getting a huge edge of 22 to, like my math said 19-1. So 22-1 isn't I personally wouldn't bet it at that price.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not getting a ton of value there. Sorry. But if you can find it at better than that, again, I make it 19-1. So do with that as you will. All right, let's see. Any other questions here, ladies and gentlemen, or else we'll head out. I mean, we managed to get a good half hour out of 3 props here, and we'll be back next week to really dive into the Super Bowl market because hopefully we'll have plenty more to talk about there. And, you know, it's going to be more top of mind. I'm sure that all of the usual suspects that haven't been able to make it today. How do Andres has a question. He says, risky because it's at 0.5, but Austin Hooper under 0.5 receptions at plus 175. Bit more run heavy. I don't know if I hate that.
I like that one. That one was popping up earlier in the week as showing some value. Less than I thought it was, but I mean, Austin Hooper does not get used that much, so I don't mind that at all.
Mm-hmm. Plus 175. This sounds like one of those bets where it's not quite a coin flip, but close to a coin flip in this one. Bogler saying Patriots will not be run heavy in this game. Yeah, we will see. I think that this, like, it could turn into a shootout, but I'm not quite sure. Like, neither of these teams are really overpowered on one side of the ball, in my opinion. Like, I think we see 2 balanced offenses going at it with 2 really good defenses, and I think that that's where we start to see the unders.
Yeah, that's kind of my read on the game too.
Yeah. LALV RR50. That's my, how do you know my banking password? No score in the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, I know it's not something we model, but it's something we can talk about.
What do you think?
I mean, I kind of like it. Again, I think that this is going to be a little bit more of a conservative game. I think it's going to be something like that where we might, like, even with the scripted plays to start the game, we might very well see 2 punts, 3 punts to get us there. I think that's difficult. I think it's difficult, but not impossible. LA saying first play of the game rush. I think he was over here in Teddy Covers the other night at Prop Reveal night, because first play of the game rush sounds very, very, very much like the thing to me.
All right. Yeah, these are all the kinds of props that, like,
yeah,
I don't have a projection for. It's all just kind of off the cuff stuff. But that's what the Super Bowl's for sometimes. So if you want to get some stuff down just to have fun, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep. Oh, I bet first touchdowns every primetime game. That Rashid Shaheed kick return, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, just ends the sweat immediately for you on the first play. You get nothing out of it. And LA saying, who's Teddy Covers? Oh, drop a follow. And everybody, don't forget, drop a follow, drop a subscribe to the channel. You'll see Teddy Covers on all of our shows here. He is one of the many fantastic faces of Wager Talk, and he's a great dude, very smart, and he's got plenty of content coming out for the Super Bowl here. AWB wants to know, what are your thoughts on Drake May passing plus rushing?
That's a market that I don't have modeled, so it's tough to say. I couldn't even pull it up on the screen here to see what the line is set at.
It's very difficult to do QB rushing yards.
QB rushing yards are tough. We can just look individually what the blitz thinks of. So it sees 229 passing yards. I mean, not much value on what the market is at there. And then his rushing yards, 37. It's like right on with where the market's at with the rushing. So, I mean, assuming that the passing plus rushing is somewhere, just adding those 2 up around there, probably not a ton of value on it.
Yeah. How about Kenneth Walker? Chad Martin wants to know, what are your thoughts on Walker rushing yards over?
Let's take a look. I mean, they certainly used him a ton last week. I think Kalani only got 3 carries. Rushing yards. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the blitz likes the rushing yard over here. It's projecting 88 yards for Kenneth Walker. So this is definitely a good one.
Ooh. Very interesting. I kind of like that.
Yeah. I'm surprised I hadn't noticed that one sooner. I like that one.
What's that yardage at? What's his line at?
Between, like, depending on the book, it looks like 72.5 to 75.5. Somewhere in that range.
That's a lot of yards. I'm surprised that you're liking it over.
Yeah. I mean, if he's just going to get all the work, 70 yards is not a lot for a guy who's going to run, who's a favorite on a team that wants to run the ball if they can. I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah. AWB saying Walker's line was close to 90 last week. Did he hit that last week? What did he hit? I mean, I know we got 19 carries, but
I don't know what he got yardage wise, but I mean, it would explain why I like this one. If he was set at 90 last week, like, this seems like a big drop without a really good reason for it that I can think of.
It did go under last week. LA saying no Charbonnet. Yeah, but we had no Charbonnet last week. Like, that's what I'm thinking. He had 62 yards last week.
Maybe that's why, because of the yardage. They dropped him 18 yards on his prop. That's silly. Yeah. He got the usage. That's what matters.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, but I don't know if I want to be betting on. I don't know if I want to be rooting for that one.
It might be fun to have an over though in this game, so I might wind up taking it at some point.
Yeah, that's true. Bro KGB says, think JSN gets up to 100 receiving yards before kickoff and we can hit the under. What's his line at now?
Well, let's take a look real quick. He's at 93.5, 94.5, depending on where we're looking, which the blitz is projecting 95. So he would have to get up to like 100 or so for it to be a worthwhile bet, I think.
Now, here's the part that makes me think we could potentially get there. And it gets into a little bit more of the strategy of betting Super Bowl props versus regular season props. The prop market, first of all, is less liquid than main markets. It's a lot harder to move a spread or a total, especially in the NFL, than it is to move a guy's prop line. And public action doesn't mean all that much when it comes to a standard NFL game, spreads, totals. The Super Bowl is very unique because you have so much public money coming in that it actually does influence those markets. Now, the prop markets are much, much more easily influenced. I think we could see it get up to 100 yards just based off the fact that you are going to get so many members of the public coming and betting the over on the superstar wide receiver for one of the teams. Like, do you think that we could get 7 yards there? Carty froze on me. I comment, am I the one that's frozen or is it Derek? I'm relying on you guys in the chat to let me know here, but I'm sure that Derek's probably going to come out in a few minutes unless I'm the problem. There we go.
Hey, sorry, I think I froze there for a second.
You did. All right, chat. Yeah, chat's letting me know. Okay, cool. Because I was like, okay, is it me or is it Derek? Thank you guys very much. So as I was saying, I don't know where you lost me, but do you think that we could get up to 100 yards on JSN?
Oh, I think we definitely could.
Yeah,
I heard part of what you were saying, which is, how markets move and whatnot. But basically, I think on the Super Bowl, with the amount of action that they're going to take and how many people are going to want to bet the over on the stars, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it get up there.
Yeah. Oh, Jason's saying it might have opened at 84.5, which means, we're definitely getting there. Wow. But the other two things to remember when it comes to these are, first off, you want to bet your overs early and your unders late because the public is not going to bet unders. And unless it's some super square under that like everybody starts building a narrative for, which you'll see on the internet and you'll see enough of early. Like if they're saying, oh, Darnold's going to implode in this game, bet all of his like stuff like that could reasonably happen. It's not necessarily happening in this game, but Bet your overs early because those lines are going to go up. If you're looking to bet unders, wait until day before, day of Super Bowl to bet those unders. And then the other thing is betting the money line and the spread. Because again, so much public action comes in that it actually does move these numbers a little bit. Now, if you're in the public and you want to bet on the underdog, the public is going to bet the underdog on the money line because you're going to bet them to win the game. You're not going to bet because you're going to say, oh, well, I think the Patriots are going to win. I'm going to bet them, not I think the Patriots are going to cover 4.5. That's not the way the public says it. They'll go, well, they're going to win, so I'm going to bet them on the money line and take the big plus money. Now, if you're a fan of the favorite and you're Mr. Public, you're going, well, I don't think that they're going to, I'm not taking the massive minus money on them to win. I'm going to take them to cover. And so you bet the spread. And so you actually do see the money line and the spread drift apart in terms of their value in this game. So it's one of those things that if you like the favorite, you can actually find some value betting the favorite on the money line. If you like the dog, you can find a little bit of value on the dog on the spread. So that is something to definitely take a watch out for there. All right. Let's see. Damn, last week hit Ramondre to gain 5 yards in each quarter prop at a pretty good number, but I forget. Damn, nice one.
Yeah, I like that bet.
Yeah. Let's see. Is it more on script or less on Helani's rush usage? Helani was 9.5 and his 20 is plus 275. Yeah, it's kind of that we think
Walker stuff we're talking about there, I guess.
Yep.
I think it's a combination of both, really, but predominantly on Helani's usage. He just was barely used in the rush game last week. I think he had 3 carries to Walker's 19. So if we see any kind of split resembling that again, I think the 72 on Walker looks pretty good, especially considering that, they are favorites. It should be a rushing game script if it plays out that way.
Yeah. AWB saying what exactly is late? I'm talking like day of. Like Super Bowl Sunday, go bet your unders. Like wait until you get exactly as much market as you can. And then it becomes everybody else is going to be starting to bet their unders on Super Bowl Sunday. So you have to kind of thread that needle a little bit. You're not waiting right until kickoff because you're going to lose some of the value there. But like that morning or Saturday night, those are your times when you really want to be starting to attack those. Like I know multiple really sharp bettors that they will be taking a lot of their action Saturday, Sunday because they're waiting for those markets to inflate. What if Darnold's mom's puppy bites him on his throwing hand day before the game? Well, yeah, then you gotta be ready. I mean, we already talked about his oblique injury and all that was. Torbadol's a hell of a drug. AWB saying 1 a.m. Saturday while drunk. Got it. Honestly, not the worst time to do it. The only problem is that when it comes to betting Super Bowl props, it's going to make you look pretty dang sharp when you're betting the unders at 1 a.m. Like they won't know that you're drunk, but you will. And that's the problem. Darnold can just take some perks. Exactly. They got that Torbadol. They're all good to go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it for us here. It's been a solid 45 minutes. It's always great hanging out with you guys. Seeing some new faces in the chat. Always fun. Great having the rest of you here. We've got one more episode to go because like we said, we are going to wait until we're going to do another show on Friday with more of the numbers out. Be sure to tune in for that. Be sure to go and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and join us for one more episode for the season. We'll be back here, same time, same place, to noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Hit that notification button. And again, I'm going to shamelessly plug myself here. Go to my Twitter. Check out TV at Work. New episode of my podcast is going to drop on Monday. I have to edit it after this. My guest is Dina Titus, Congresswoman from Nevada, and we're talking all about the tax situation. So if you are one of those people who's a little bit concerned about the 90% deduction write-offs and how we're going to fix that with gambling tax law, tune in. Very fun. Very, very riveting discussion on gambling taxes, but very informative, and will hopefully shed some light on things for everybody. Meanwhile, Derek, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Derek Carty. You can find the Blitz at EV Analytics. That's, it's pretty straightforward for me.
Mm-hmm. Bro, KGB, thank you so much for the kind words about the shows with Cap and Alex. Always appreciate having them on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here on the show today. Like we said, we will see you back here next week for one more episode of Prop Culture. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend. Try and find something to do in your little precursor to the next long several months without football. And stay safe, everybody. Have fun. And we'll see you guys next episode.